contact with all of the world.
So when the year about
Through
just on the Monday watching
nature of God to view the complete
well, the years
away
and then
from
they
God.
made your watching
We
at
lay
the
out
one,
that
I shot
symbol
them,
this
I should
way.
have just
The
what
glorious
she.
Cobra, the Sejur from the Shakya clan. I
And boy,
prostrate
and
in
then
homage
he wanted to buy young the ones away.
to the founder, the
Sunday
endowed,
about the
transcendent
just on the Monday
destroyer,
watching
the
what she
one
did,
gone
you made
beyond
your
the
order,
veil's throne,
you.
the completely perfected
Allah,
and
Allah, you
awakened
know,
being,
Mother, you should
perfect
have
in
been your
knowledge and
Shagada,
equal
all I
conduct,
shall
Siddhartha in all of the world,
you
supreme
were
guardian of
my
the beings
Julian
of humanity,
decision.
teacher of God's
Rajan by
beautiful
Yanda was
beings,
always
to
on
you,
your
the
man, I shall
completely
send
and
him when they
fully
were
awakened one, the endowed,
Ula
transcendent
Jualana,
destroyer, the glorious
the
Cobra,
Mazation
the
in the
Sejur from the Shakya clan. I
Chadara Chada
prostrate, make offerings,
Yazuchi,
and go for refuge to the
Hazakanji,
founder,
the
the endowed,
Wajadan,
transcendent
Sajana,
destroyer, the one gone
Manish,
beyond the veil's
Charges,
throne,
one to the
the
Kavada
completely
Shada.
perfected, fully awakened being,
Hazekanye,
perfect in knowledge
Zojudan,
and
the
equal conduct,
Sajade, La Kumadan
Siddhartha,
Bane.
knower of the world, supreme guardian of the beings of
Zekawaja,
humanity,
Lanjan,
teacher of
Nanda,
God's beautiful
Kumaja,
beings, to
Susawa.
you, the completely and fully awakened one, the
Yejazo,
endowed,
the
transcendent
Jelambo,
destroyer,
Tawaji,
the
the
glorious
Sonam,
Cobra, the Sejur from the Shakya clan.
Senja, the
I
embodiment,
prostrate, make
Jazo, the
offerings, and
Tawaji,
go for
Lajana,
refuge
the Legend,
when, O
Simatama,
supreme amongst
Jayami.
humans, you were born on this earth. You paced out 7 strides, then said,
Gobado
I am
Jayjin, the
supreme in this
Embodiment,
world.
and the
To
Babo,
you,
Snow,
O
and the
wise men, I
Jayjin, Chada.
prostrate. With pure bodies, forms
Takwe, the
created in the
Jate,
world.
or
With commercial
Jiren is
mountain
on the
golden mountain.
Chida, the
We
Nashi,
make no
Jayjin.
places in the 3 worlds.
Tornado,
Literally
Lion,
best
the
of all to you, I
Lavadala, the
prostrate.
Nation, the Mayan.
You supreme science, face what's
Sanjay
faultless
Zola
and new.
Chaza,
Color
George
like
and
gold,
Chaza,
to you I
Gidichan, and
prostrate.
Suna, the Kuja.
Dust free like you,
Chaja,
3
what the
worlds are
Jala
not.
Shindu, and the
Incomparably
Children,
wise
the
one, to
Vajan,
you I
Major,
prostrate.
Gilbert,
The Savior having
Rangus
great compassion,
News, Sanjay,
the
the May,
founder
Kamara,
having all
remember that you must
understanding,
have achieved.
the field of merit with qualities like a
Sunam the
vast
Tanjay
ocean, to
Sivayi,
you,
Kumbanda,
the
the
one
Junju,
gone to
and
darkness, I
Kadana, the Shiva,
prostrate.
and the Civil.
The purity that frees one from the
Sunam
past,
di
the
Tamje,
virtue that
Sunam
frees
di
one from all the
Tamje,
realms, the one path
Sivayi,
to
Kumbanda,
sublime
the
reality,
Junju,
to the
the
Dharma that pacifies, I
Kadana, the
prostrate.
Shiva, the
Those
Civil,
who are
to
liberated then will also show
show.
the path to liberation, the
The
holy field qualified with realizations, who are neglecting the moral
Kadana, the
precepts.
Civil,
To you, sublime
to
divinity, ending
show.
virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha. Homage to the
Kadana,
Dharma
the Shiva,
refuge.
the
Homage to the great
to
Sangha.
show.
To all 3, every devout homage.
Kadana, the
To all
Shiva,
worthy of
the
respect, bowed with bodies as many as all realms' atoms in all aspects,
show.
with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of the lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. To page 15 for the Heart of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Aryas and Voltaire. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling on massive altars mounted in Hyperborea, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration and baptism of unshackles and non-defective. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very faculty of profound perfection of wisdom, and beheld those high aggregates also ascending in infinite measure. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shantideva descended, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train, who wishes to practice perfection, become familiar with wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage, or daughter of the lineage, wishing to practice objective and profound perfection of wisdom, should look upon Atlantis, directly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also sentient in infinite nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not unformable. Form is also not emptiness. In the same way, feelings, discrimination, comprehension, and physical consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, also not bear emptiness. Without characteristics, non-constituent non-diseased, stainless, not without stain, but deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Taya ta, gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisoha. Shariputra, the bodhisattva, mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised for that spoken by the Bhagavan. To page 25 for the short mandala. Sashi Bojin Jushi Metta Pram Rira Blinking Vijay Gyambali Sangye Jimbo Metta Vati Chokunanda Shila Chopasho Jetsa Lama Tamba Chenanti Chugyo Kala Chenze Chichene Chitara Sambe Tushin Simala Sabke Chugi Shalpa Patu So Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami Sanje Janam Saji Janam Chanchu Bado Dani Chapsu Kage Chijin Jive Sanam Ji Dora Venji Sanje Trupara Sanje Janam Saji Janam Chanchu Bado Dani Jasa Kage Chijin Jive Sanam Ji Dora Venji Sanje Trupara Sanje Janam Saji Janam Chanchu Bado Dani Jasa Tage Chijin Jive Sonam Ji Dora Benje Sanje Trupara Visho Nyende Jewa Zanam Guji Ni Jitin Zekhayin Dan Dora Bimba Jina Lam Shi Ni Jitin Tundu Zewa Kanda Yanda Deme Dena Nama Kade Nasa De Zava Nyende Shinje Zambe Zaje Sanje Jini Yumde La Cha Tse La Donye Nye Sanje Jebe La Shi Jitin Zekhayin Jitin Jebe Chana Jama Jintin Jebe La Sawa Tusa Jebe La Dusha Pandeza Lama Rama Jenda Gingar Bende Deshene, Gane Jimbe Gane Jimbe Gane Jimbe Gane Adam Kulon Komji, Tiring Tanda Chunya di Rani Jibu Tanda Mai Bachi the Show Simji Shin Tamji, Tenda Tuya Chidu. Tatsulan Simji Shin Tanda to Ten Yomare, this Sula Yorasuna, Sanje Najing Yoritiza. Simji Shingi Tanda Tuya Chidu, Sanji Komato Chigi, Tichidu. Chedi Ningi Sambita Kulon Chanju Simbi Simbash. Kulon dis Kumjap Shosra.
Assuming that motivation of listening to Dharma, not just for oneself, but for all sentient beings, to fulfill their needs, that one cannot do it personally at this moment, and checking up. Only a Buddha is capable of fulfilling the purposes of all living beings. So with the benefiting intention to be able to cultivate that state of awakening, listen to the Dharma with bodhicitta.
Oh yeah, that dog during lamrim during lamrim chik tuju chunga de kya sang yin chen
Rejoicing that today just hearing word of Lam Rim is so fortunate. Rejoice in that.
Oh yeah, that ne tanda ngang zo da lam gyule je la ne thangbo sim la phaja sha la ne hada lama lame chi lab yong gu yor che dan de chi du da pinyi nangara ne to ma jam den ne zor gyu ye cho ji ge se dan je wa yu lam ring gi mu ji ji lama dan je yu ten je ne tin da gu ne ma ne je we se chue je su su le ya ne lam ring gi to ba gyule je phaja shi su gi lam ring to ba je New Tindale, Susan lives so tension being on it. No, they think the Kalaman legit, don't you Aslam?
In order to generate insights or a valid path of mind, one needs imprints. To generate imprints in one's mind, and for that to take place, one needs the Lama's blessing. So, in that light, we visualize in the space in front Buddha Shakyamuni Buddha surrounded by Lama Tsongkhapa, all the enlightened beings, the direct and indirect lineage gurus. So you visualize light rays coming from that merit field and sinking into one's self, purifying the mind so that you're pacified of obstacles to realizations and latterly insights are born. So the potency is blessed your mind therein. So with that visualization, can we recite together the first verses? I bow to you, foremost of Shakyas, whose body is formed by 10 million perfections, virtues, and excellence, whose speech fulfills the hopes of infinite transmigratory beings, whose mind perceives all objects of knowledge. I prostrate to Manjushri Maitreya, whose emanations sport in innumerable universes. Stability of all the conqueror's conduct. You are the supreme son of the peerless teacher. I prostrate at the feet of Nagatuna, ornaments of Jana Kripa, renowned throughout all the three worlds. You compose commentaries in accordance with their intention. Conquerors so hard to fathom. I bow to different power of the teacher, the treasure of instructions that gathers together the important points completely and unmistakably on the path of profound view and the vast conduct, the excellent lineages descending from the two great charioteers. I prostrate respectfully to the spiritual teachers, eyes that see the intricate scriptures, who with skillful means, moved by compassion, clarify the supreme entry way for the fortunate traveling to liberation. The stages of the path to enlightenment, the excellent lineage handed down, Juna and the Sangha, crown ornaments of the wise of the Janu Kripa, and banners of fame resplendent of transmigratory beings. This instruction, the king of powerful jewels, fulfills all the desired aims of the knowledge of beings. It is an ocean of glorious and excellent explanations, gathering the rivers of power and transformation. Through it you can realize that all the teachings are without contradiction, understand that all scriptures are instructions, easily find the intention of the conqueror, the very faulty conduct. Therefore, the supreme instruction is relied on by many fortunate ones. The wise beings of India and Tibet. A person would not be captivated by the stages of the path of the three types of beings. That the meaning of this method that conveys the essence of all the scriptures, even the teaching I hear in this single session, definitely calculates of the assembled benefits of explaining or listening to the Holy Dharma. Rely correctly and with in thought and action on the holy spiritual friend, the teacher of the path. and the foundation perfectly bringing auspiciousness for all the excellent collections of this and future lives. Having seen this, do not give them up, even at the cost of your life, and please them with the offering of your practice.
Just as they instruct.
You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, also practiced in this way. This body of leisure, more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, is found but once, difficult to obtain again. It finishes as quickly as lightning in the sky. Having reflected in this way, realizing that all worldly activities are like wood or chaff, you must take its essence day and night. You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Although there's no certainty that after death you'll not be born in the bad migrations,
the 3 rare sublime ones will definitely protect you from this fear.
Therefore steadfastly take refuge in them, and never degenerate their precepts.
In addition, think well about the results of black and white actions, and depend on the correct practice of that to be adopted
and that to be rejected. You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way.
I, who am
seeking liberation, will also practice in this way.
Another one. Yeah.
Until you attain a body with pure characteristics, you will not make progress in your practice of the supreme path. Train in the causes for becoming free of those impurities. Since your 3 doors are defiled by negative actions, downfalls and stains, it is particularly important to purify karmic obscurations. Therefore, continuously cherish reliance on purification with the 4 forces.
You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way.
Hi, that. So, and the number of sheep let it Jandan the Tanganzo Sim. On the Sim Yorba Sim. On the Tangmala, a Pajin Tewane Shavana, Sanje Jirik, Sanje Nubaji years ago, Sanje Nuba. The Sanje Nuba Yuba did around the Yunden Yarjedre with the Drupshop around the Tambo. Machine Jang Jana, Shin Chado, Mama around the Shinjugala. 이게 오신게요 말이에요. 진짜 저런 저 이글로 신거를 티신거를 니마로 나 투드는도 봐. 니 ABCD도 투제 되게요. 다 딩사. 네, ABCD 상당 말하다. 이게 저바스 저베 통다스 대베 책임보던데 제대 집 신거요. 다랑 되게 당한서 야제 심나라 야제 두주 유대바지. 대 야제들라 니베데 탐해봐다. 유엔된라 탐해봐. 공 탐해봐지. Shagyor some of this Stantona Sanjay Rixini the Yovarva. Sanjay Rix at the Sim Sangbook Tadudre, Sangbotadu Sanjay. Tindeging Misamala Sim Sangbochag in the Wachizang of the Mirajin and Ningji and she Yor said Sanjay Rigi to know the Ningji Duarva. What day some of the she's a date on the Kajana and the deep said. 장규요발로 고등레알 펜도 요레스로
So looking at the mind and the possibility of purifying it by the means of the 4 opponent powers, purifying misdeeds. Certainly it is said that all beings have the potential within them to be Buddha. In that sense, the mind's qualities can be increased or improved. Looking at the fact that when we were young, born from our mothers, we did not know certain things as infants, but slowly we learned to speak and so forth. And 5, 6, and 7 years old, again, we learned the language, the alphabets, and so forth, such that now it's automatic for us hearing the sounds and composing things and so forth. So one has to understand from this example that the potential qualities of the mind have no limit. And it is this potential of the mind that we call Buddha nature that abides within all living beings. And really what we talk about this Buddha nature is being the final mode of a Buddha, being kindness, goodness, and compassion, saying that all beings, all humans have compassion by nature. while also animals have it. So it is upon this basis of understanding mind's potential we can confess and purify.
다 열제로야 돼. 수수 갈래자 그러면 주지. 수직 소야요 말스티.
But that notion of, let's say, making the mind better, getting better, takes effort. No one does that for you.
당은저 셈디 때 아니 베디 딥제 녀몽베다 레게 디바 랭임베 디바 저 딥제 데데 여러와 다 디파 디바데세 마세나 아니 다직 셈기란 신디야 세토고요 말이죠. 람조둘라 신이 참여 땡선 저 미류된디 람초도 되베 네 람조드베 신이 참여 땡스와
Okay.
다 많이 봐도 사주 메요에서 세상 람 조야게 다 텐조 텐진게 또바 타도 아니 람게 다또직 텐지 텐조 텐지 그 또바니에도 저에베 또바도 다직 치범이다고다 레준데다 저저게 아니 남샤도 저랭이시에 워스케마토베이나 아니 용구요 말해서 당하는서 줄라 아니 직신에리 닝지리 다 가래나 람 가래 공부이나 또고마게야 돼 가서나 아니 레기 디베 디데 여르셔서 레기 디버스야디 가래람잖아 말하지 아니 레미게와 chen 소체거든 준셰바당 아니 고모고라서와다 밀라직 직조셰버라 직된데게 틴데게 레디 디버스 그래 되게 또게 아니 가데 요자티 네 학과 레드 좀 네. 학과 레드 좀네 쳬베스 네 쳬어스디 갈라다 레드 디오나 딤 다야 메오 마레베스나 다야 요레스 다야 탑랑 카레르스나 아니 님부터 없이 있어야죠. 그래서 저는 균두스디 님만에 님아 아니 님부터 없이 돼 아니 상와로 또 시가 차나 아니 레디 타도 레디 타나 아니 직축 도고지야 다도 아니 제용 그래서 저는 tin자 딘데기 냠는데 아니 제르무신 다 단다 지준 라면 냠는데 다 제스디 지준 세디 지준 잠배양 longo 스코라 지준 잠배양 라서고다 다기 냠는데 다 제버레서 제르무신 땅 안저이나
Okay.
제르무신 냠는데 다 제버레 아니 탄도용아야 지난신 지지기니 지난신지 용어 쇼스 양안저 지준 라마사디 측도연디 제르무신 코나디기로 봐 얘네 제르무신기 지준 라마사디 지준 잠배양 라송고요 다조 뭐스로 봐
It is the case then in terms of increasing that mind's potential that the mind is afflicted. The mind is obscured by afflictions and karma, or we would say covered. And if that veil of disturbing thought obscurations is not removed, we can't see the mind's or realize the mind's true nature. So we need to, have a path, or we have the basis of, it is said, it is quoted that the supreme basis for gaining insights into the path is the perfect human rebirth, which should be utilized for insights. Final insights, what does that mean? Well, one tries to get, with the basis of the fully endowed human support, realizations into death and impermanence, the law of behavioral cause and effect. If not, it is said the basis is wasted. Being human is wasted, and then you cannot also generate compassion. Well, the reason we don't generate insights on the perfect basis we have is because of karmic obscurations which veil the possibility of the insights. Now, here the question comes, can the karmic obscurations, the karma and disturbing emotions, be healed or not, purified or not? Lama Tsongkhapa says yes, they can, using the 4 opponent powers continually. Continually here means that all of the 4 opponent powers must be complete. And then the karmic obscurations can be removed. And as it says here, at the bottom of the verses, you, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. It is as if, Lama Tsongkhapa is talking directly to Manjushri, addressing him. So when we are reciting this, we are addressing Lama Tsongkhapa directly, saying, you, the perfect guru, practiced in this way, like using the 4 opponent powers to purify. I, who am seeking liberation, will do likewise.
다 냠보 돕시나네 넘버 순진메 돕디 기진 로심바체로 네 이난데 순진바세야데 다 수수 미기와 제바들라 교바치야 돼 교바치 닝딩네다 베사송 생에 와 순진바스지 다데 섬로디 다니 미기와라 교바디 개와차고요와 데요노 아니 냠보 숨바디게데 용고 레서 거다.
Okay, so now last time we did cover the first of the 4 opponent powers, which is the power of eradication, sometimes called regret or remorse. And this has to be deeply felt from the heart. And in that sense, a non-virtue can become a virtue. And the strength of this first power means that the other 3 follow easily.
다디 먼저 레당고디 양자 삼단디 주어마레스와 다디네마 아니 냠보군디 주베도 다 냠보 땡으로라 냠보 가땡으로스데 냠보들라야 아니 냠보 돕들라 툭샤도 와람리나라 디 기진 도디 시진라서베 되치 렘바다 짐바다 록바다 아니 퇴삼치와라서 당랑저 진데나라 퇴삼치야 되즈레 다도즈 아니 냠보 돕 첨부셰게요라
As beginners, we should not go over those misdeeds again and again. We should quickly act by applying the actual remedy, the second power. And as we went through them, there are 6 actual antidotes to rely on the profound sutras, such as the Prajnaparamitas, turning the mind to emptiness, reciting Vadasattva, and so forth.
동니 라메바스 다 동니 곰 동니 되는 퇴상 고섬 쳐야들 다디 로다 최 탐제 로다 동니도 왜 로데게다 아니 진딘지기 사회 녀몽게 자와 차단게 자와 제도요 인자 아니 다 냠변한 게 냠보 촉도 줘와디 시기요로
The second antidote of the 6 of emptiness, of course, it applies to all phenomena, and that one is clinging to things being truly existent. But if one can apply the countermeasure of wisdom to vanquish that clinging to true existence or truly existent self, one can remove the root and the seeds of that ignorance.
다드네 숨바디 대발을 땜바스와 이 이겨다바당 다 이겨디 시안시안 스타트나 중나 이겨 개바된 때문에 이겨 두바된 다 니마레레 당간 유시자지 마체바 되면이나 먼저 동아에게 폐가 책이 위해서 지금 먼저다 직찬생 돈 받아 나고 돈 받아서 폐용 거 요러야 제가 폐가 책으로 위해서 그래.
No. So then this third antidote of reciting the 100 syllable mantra, doing 21 or 21 recitations daily in an unbroken manner, meaning that you never miss that daily 100 syllable recitation according to the commitments of your bodhisattva and tantric vows, then the infractions that you have done will not increase.
아니 붐다 되나 아니 디바다 다 동아 차도 타도 디바 타도다.
Right, and then of course if one does the 100,000 recitations of 100 syllable mantra, all of the transgressions are purified.
다드네 시와디 베진 구숙라 템바디 인스리로. 구수는 산제의 구라 대화지네 네 구숙다 산제지 당 구상 바로와 최대상야도 구상야도 도저 아니 구숙라 템베다 딕딕장고라.
The fourth one would be because of one's conviction in the qualities of Buddha to have statues or images made of Buddha, and you have consecrated them.
다드네 뭐시와 딱 나와 있으래 시월에 나와디 아니 초발라 템바 초발 템바데 산제 당데 아니 최대한 당도 졸라에 초발 넘버 나서 초발부 장마스 당아서 제 장마스야 돼서 배 개점으로 된다 꿀 꿀이야. 꾸당 단단한 최대한이라 개자 장마수에 샤도조다 인디버 다야기다. 레드 다야 촉규. 레송어요.
Okay. This next one, the fifth point of dependence upon worship, is really to make offerings to images of Buddhas or to a stupa. In terms of the stupa, we want to keep it clean, and cleaning is important. It is said that if one sweeps around the stupa and so forth, there's no more excellent purification of misdeeds than that.
And how about the another 최대한지고 말이야. another 최저난라다. 딜라 꾸요레 매워기 강바도 전날에다 빼자다 꾸다 망고도 유도 안도저 지 계자도 도저다 꾸도저 지지도 나랑 샵지 쉬어야지 당마서고요 텐제 꿀론데 심지신 담제 쉬도 디디다 대시도 산제지고 대서 숙사 당마서고요 심지 꿀론 전주선 유심배 오늘 계자도 지들 디디도 수수 렉 디디도 다 두고요 텐제 다 최저나게 내가 먼저다 최단 꾸다 배자다 근데 저 인조냐 소인자 나 개와 야고 책에는 개와 랍 전부 사도고 여러 가지 상모로
And not only the cleaning of the stupas, there are statues in this building, statues down around other buildings in the center, all over. And if one cleans them, sweeps them with the thought of all sentient beings, purifying their misdeeds, with the thought to place them in Buddhahood. In short, one does such dusting or cleaning with bodhicitta. This is very powerful for cleaning away one's karmic obscurations that one has done by negative actions. There is a connection there between the Dharma, the statues, and the texts. And anything we do connected with the Dharma, the statues, and the text has great virtue, great waves of blessing.
다야 내 튼중 전낭매다는 디버사야게 인가요다 전낭네르와
Yeah, but then conversely, if one were to look down on certain images or act disrespectfully, then conversely, the non-virtue is great as well.
다주zul라 쿠샤다 네 사장마간나 샤야다 수수 강배올라 마테바다 감유마케바다 딘데 쳐고래와
What's being said is to respect such images if you find them on the ground, place them high, don't put your feet over them and so forth.
근데 건석하시 버저도 구보를 주고도 디버쇼사그라 아니 베사로 하더니다.
Yeah, there would be some who would take the offerings underneath of them, the money and so forth. Quite strong non-virtue.
다데네 두고디 산제기 챈라 덴버래. 다 산제기 정도 제가 돈샤라 숨주성을 하서고 아니 직면에 도지sembe 산제기 챈레리 주베네 챈레리 주베 탈라네 쇠수 디디타도야다 소남사야시오 저 요소고요다 로.
It is said the sixth antidote, dependence on names, to recite, for example, the names of the 35 Buddhas and the other names of the Buddhas is very powerful means for purifying karmic obscuration.
저 많이 단도에 좀 제레식이 명내 표고요다 저와.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So then our example is to, when you are saying the money, or manipamihung, that's like saying the name of Chenrezig, isn't it? Offering.
어디 다저 제가 수수 셈다 니산제 대화지 차용고 여러 미체묘야 돼요.
Essentially what's happening here is a connection has been made between one's mind and the enlightened Buddhas.
다드네 숨바데 녀월 라도베 톱스로 녀월 라도베 톱데 당에 단단 람림 시자제도 다 친제 미시님의 동생들의 겨워 줄러서 와서지 소주바 당네 준라서베 녀모베 아니 딘데라야 다지 친제 미시님의 동생제야 되려.
Okay, so now our third power is the power of restraint or turning away from faults. So one is making a strong commitment to not recommit the 10 non-virtues as it is said here.
제가 친제 미시님의 동생제와라 녀월라 최심 고고에서와 녀와 당보데 최심 유나 안당에 친제 지금에서 최심 달래 나미 대부단도 신고
Now, this power of the resolve to not recommit the infraction will be strong if the first power of regret is strong, because one will have understood the maturational result of cause and effect. The fourth one is the power of reliance, or as it says here, foundation.
람기remba 코든 주부충의 람기remba 코든 칼랑가산 치워미다고 하다 텐조텐제다 레준데 남샤 인친사 인자 아니 레준데 남샤 유디 아니 다 레라 개와다 미게와 텐조당인도 개와치마 도사데 텐조겐도니레 수수르 멘도멘도냐베 땡메요 테자 안겐도레 자베야기 짭 뉴바디 술레요레 삼당은데 아니 산제 군조 신의 겐도미지 땡메지 대지죠 군조 순댕에서 테자 신의 가서 겨와치만 해서는 민들에 딩즈 수술을 요마래 다들 교회 누버디 군조스물을 요 네버레스다 될 잠도 채위나 군조스물을 잡스도 잠도 치기나 치마 엘마다이나 해서는 도마레스 거라.
Okay. So now these powers of reliance in terms of the affording a protection from the unfortunate migrations by understanding from the perspective of the initial scope, the law of cause and effect, that we've covered, death and impermanence, perfect human rebirth, karma, and then knowing what to adopt and what to abandon in terms of virtues and non-virtues, one relies on the validity of the three jewels by seeing that they can afford protection from the three lower realms, just as it says in the text. Although there's no certainty that after death you'll not be reborn in the bad migrations, the three rare sublime ones will definitely protect you from this fear, take refuge and never degenerate the precepts, and so forth.
제가 니 다디 잠도들라 디자인이용 거와 규잡을 잡스도다 아니 대잡을 잡스도 아시 디자인이용 거였어.
Yeah. So when we look at the refuge objects, we can look at them in terms of the causal refuge and the resultant refuge.
규잡세데 란레 규타데와 베나다자 좀 마셔도 봐다. 라마종가와도 지진 잠배야라서 와대다디 수수 규기잡 란일레 규타데베 잡선 도절라 잡치기는 규잡차고요랬어.
So those causal refuges are going to be those which are a different mental continuum from you, in the sense that you're looking at the continuums of Buddha Shakyamuni, Lama Tsongkhapa, Manjushri. So therefore, causal in the sense that different reference point from you.
But
yeah, sorry. The resultant refuge then is your future Buddhahood, your own mind.
아니 초 냠린 체제 수수줄이야 초군조지 초군조디 잡ngoy 차고요 레스로 수수줄다 동반이 무슨도 별로다 아니 녀몽베 디바단 테베 테와 꼭대요나 수수수 잡아봐다 제가 아니 대잡도베 다로 루바메와디 초군조 줄레데메 박베 칸산세차 아니 딜레데네 아니 수수상도 부제도 요인자 어두 체제다 주잡 대잡세야데 다 대잡문에디 대잡디 대잡디다 잡 문에 잡두고 열받아 주잡디게 깝직 잡나 베나 겨와딜라 잡스토네 겨와치마 니손라 미제베체 된돌레 제베이네야 야디제데 처음에서 롱버러지다 제벨레나 아니야 잠도 지금 말이야 니손레 제로 팀마 찍면서 잡두면도 주잡디 다 대잡디 아니 텐도 거란 잡았다
yeah
템바도 와디
yeah, so that causal refuge, but the resultant refuge of one's own Buddhahood, in the sense that the Dharma jewel affords you that protection due to the wisdom consciousness you cultivate in your own mind, that is an antidote to the afflictions. And once you are separate completely from those objects of abandonment, the afflictions, you get a true cessation, so free from the seeds and the stains. And such a potency of refuge is valid, a valid mind, and then we can see that third Dharma jewel of the Sangha as being those who have that, let's say, infallible true cessation in their minds, also as a resultant state. But to go back, the causal refuge could afford you protection, perhaps at one time. Let's say you are afforded protection from not going to the lower realms by relying on Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, causal level. But after that, you could lose that refuge and again be born in a place where there was no valid teaching, an outlying region, whatever. Whereas if you really understood the second refuge as the resultant jewel of Dharma in your own mind, then once you reach that level, what you're afforded is permanent protection, having gotten over suffering and its causes. No.
다들 잠도체 셈지 써야 돼. 아니 최대셔 셈지 신기 치도 이 산지 고마도 대시도 최치기 상당한데 딘데기 셈 깨직직 계획 선남되 아니 다좀바베 저와스 타게 붐라만 거기네 니마직 동리 공배 선남되래장 전주셈 깨직직 계획 선남되 납치아 망아 요성도 알아.
And that second reliance of mind generation, altruism, you are generating a vast mind of bodhicitta for all sentient beings' behalf. So 1 moment's meditation on that develops much stronger waves of merit than an arhat meditating for eons on emptiness because of the power of that resolve.
지상은 저 칼라스도 상담나 수지고 칼라스도 칼라시 무시다 체험도 미니 미숨 미시로질 수수스네 칼라시 무체도
누아?
아니 초보든 데서는 심무체도 하고 제상 신변의 셈지 유나 칼라지 유네 심부도 와 제상.
Yeah. When we cook just for ourselves, maybe it's not such a delicious meal. If you get 2 or 3 of your 4 of your friends together and you cook, it can have more of a taste, a nicer taste. And also if you cook for the community, even better. So that is like that with the benefiting intention, isn't it? It's a better taste. Yeah, the rice in the monastery is so tasty. You can't quite get it right in your own room. But the monastic collective rice is nice.
아니 지 강의 중이나 셈버 부수마 더 봐. 이 신변의 삼로 유니미디 삼로 고양하다 와라. 가도이나 수수지고진 삼된 삼부 부수 더고도 왔잖아. 부수 더고에나 안 텔레데네 셈 투가에 겨가도 와라. 이 다가랑 그 세부 하고도 얘라 지 겨와 지마시다 마시 세 다가랑래 세부 쉬우지래도로.
Also the person who has an altruistic mind, it is easier for them to, you have this other oriented thought, a process or approach. You have more courage when you face difficulties. You're more relaxed because your mind is kind of vaster. People who are self-interest stay alone and the mind becomes a bit more narrow, so it's easier to get upset. And let alone talking about future lives. We can see that in this very life.
다나 님부도시네 디바타나 디바탈루다나 간데레스나 다 디바탈루데 간데레라스네 년로게 동해 첨보 빼나 다 소제와 딘데게 동해 첨보된데 용거예요나 아니 동해 매년로라 제네 동해 총어요야 봐 아니 동해 총어요야 아니 배년로라야 규릉보 대고야 된대 유나야 두즈튼두레 대모야 된대 아니 년부 또 배치 배년부 톱진 차차위나 아니 겐도 냐월 제야게 랭이 버든데 체들라 고직 나와이나 디그 코치로야 된대. 어디가 타봐 달룩 된대 요레스다 봐.
How does the actual purification take place in terms of the four powers and karmic maturational result from killing? One might have done, created the cause to suffer in a great way in the lower realms, but the suffering becomes less, or the time one has to experience that suffering was going to be long, but due to purification becomes shorter. Now, if the purification is thorough and powerful, instead of, for example, taking birth in hell, one just experiences a headache. Yeah, so we can see right there of the great benefit of the four pana power.
다드네 디바타베 따 칸데 용고요레 라위나 따로 저와 아니 참마 칸데 용고레스나 밀람 나래야 아니 칸에 주보주기야 된대로와 주보주그로와
Yep.
아니 쇼다 오마 된대 통야 아니 니마 샤워야 된대 다외외 샤워야 된대 아니 스스 난갈라 피도야 된대 아니 매바워라 된대 오다 된대 아니 지 길론다 아니 지 라마당 아니 산제당 아니 추로바당 아니 오딘데기 니람타만데 충나 아니 디바타베 따 태용요레스 디바타베 따 태용요레스로
What are the signs that one's purification has been effective? One could dream of, for example, vomiting, or you could dream of the white substances like yogurt and milk, that you're drinking them, that you see the light of the sun and the moon, that you are flying in the sky, that you see bright kind of flames, you see bhikshus, lamas, Buddhas, and so forth. Meet them. Yeah, also. Yeah, see, it's like seeing that you recite scriptures or meet scriptures or you're meditating, those types of.
Oh, 다제자 아니 디바타베다 이겨당 근데 뒤에 지나도 최로 왔다 빼져든데 로다로 도든데 로치다 원다 니람 주어도 그래다
Yeah, so when you guys do these things, the reading the sutras, reading the texts can have effect in your dream.
가실래 니람 두자 당도 라도 니람 두자 다니 뜻은 최야 고체나 니람디 니람 조도 그러라.
Yeah, there are people who say, I have nightmares, but if your Dharma practice is sound, those will disappear and the dreams will be good.
당원에 최지는 아니 다데 소소지 내 나자든데 담면데 중나 딱 가고 공거래. 소소 레랭이 베데부스 미송 삼제로 단다 카라곰중 송도 단대 동에 참여자 나메 랭이 세지 치마대와 줄지 돌아가고 곰시아 스타 동에 내 나자신데 가고 공거래 슬로로저 냠내신이 가래서나 나는 저왕아메기 랭이 베데부세송 랭이 베데부세나 아니 다 칼라하더라 내 개와들 하더라 다 데부 대와용하면서 하요 뭐라봤다 치마 대와용그레스자 딘딘다 다 동해 용하들라 나 동해 중수사 독제 마데다 가고 곰스 다베 냠네 로종 냠네 로도 전부 셔르더라
Yeah. And then thinking that if one does get sick by practicing Dharma, it is good. The maturational result of sickness when one has practiced Dharma should be something to be glad about, because the suffering has ripened the past karmas. As one of the Lojong Lamas said, it is good to be sad and suffer because the results of past karmic non-virtues and disturbing thought obscurations have ripened on me, and now the only thing left is virtue, so it is better to be sad and suffer than to be happy. This is the training mind.
다 당하는 탕보유 곰자들이 아 냠렘바 인스라 곰자니
Yeah.
아니 동해 때지 좀 만디고 때서 람사 깨접줘벌로 로 아니 때지 만디고다가야 톡보샤 개겐샤 톡보샤지 도도 다들 쳐게 쳐 렌데 티고랑 중요 말이잖아요. 동해 강이 가르쳐나한테 대어다 대는데 그 말이서드네 야 란제 그뒤 등에 중사는가 마음바 그래서 아시에 때에서 만디고다가 아니 진짜 연구 말해 때에서 만디고다가 최소로 연구 말해 때에서 만디고다가 개겐샤 그래 그래서 가르쳐 와서나 하나는 기록돼서 렌데라 이지 축전에 매봤다 된 거요 봐 수수기 레그 데비스에이션 게 미션다고 선joke 말어 렌렌 탐제 찍을다 군라 가딘 쳐고 송다로 봐 수수 레그 데비는 바디 슈네르 밀 조조서 거라 요 말어 나는 된대 지기도 제가 다 단다 삼는 단다 베들로가 두고도 알아 다 되게 동네 가르쳐나 야고래 동네 주나 나는 랭에 베데비 사송 나 대피하고도 다 문에 동네 유디 네 된대 삼던데 되는 배 야고래로
So oh yeah, so therefore it is good to meditate. If you are thinking that your meditation is healthy and you should also always be healthy, and you enter into meditation and you think, right, everything's going well, I'm practicing Dharma, but you meet a slight negative condition and you might want to leave it, to give up your practice because things are not going as well as when you started out with that healthy body and mind. And then you leave the practice, you leave the friends, you leave the teacher, you leave your understanding, which is really showing that you really don't understand the law of behavioral cause and effect and all. But in actual fact, what should be done here is you stay put. When you fall down the mountain, you get up again. This is what one should do. And it really shows when this happens that when the students don't come to class, when they don't come to the Dharma Center, when they leave the teacher, that they really haven't understood in a deep way the law of cause and effect. They didn't get it. Well, in reality, that's not the case because you made it. The two Lojong slogans of drive all blame into one and think about the great kindness of all beings is something we should take to heart. It is, but we practice the opposite. When we suffer, we think it comes from think it's coming from outside, whereas the great practitioners, when they suffer, say, okay, I will take this on because it is the result of my previously created negative karma. So we have to think like that. Yeah, this is such a profit if you can train your mind to think that way. There's a question here.
Where's come from this?
Wow, where did that question come from? Okay, thank you. The question is, Kishla, what are the 6 constituents we have for enlightenment that those in the Pure Land do not have? Ale kamtruk. The milu dan dembe kamtruk.
Ngeji kamtruk.
Pejimul repa nagajuna din to say adi.
Ngeji kamtruk.
Odi. Di konzo kasa nangbagi Pure Land say di konzo yo marwa ngonzo yo barwa. Kamtruk di karisha.
Kamtruk de derwa. Sadani yore pale tebe. 아니 감가고 숨제 말라데베 감마고 숨 죽디식 샤그러와 강마체 고아체 루버와 팔레트베 숨제 타체 규어체 추신체 디예선데 말레토와체 될라야 감죽샤나 직제로와
There are a couple of ways of saying what are these 6 constituents that we have as humans, potential for enlightenment. The semen and blood from the father and mother essentially can be broken into 3. From the father's semen, we get this solid thing, the white things. Pa ni chungwa sha re.
Mare ruba.
Bones.
Kuwa Kangma.
Yeah, bones, and then
Kuwa Kangma, Kuwa.
cores and that tesco. I know that word in English. What is it that goes in the bones? Marrow? That fluid, yeah, marrow. And there's one third one. Somebody? Sinews. No, it's a solid white.
Solid white.
Bones, marrow.
Kuwa.
Kuwa.
Palette Kuwa.
It could be something like that, yeah, cartilage.
Did it up Toma palette to me, the judge or did it?
Oh, yeah. It actually is the semen. So semen, bones, and what was that other one we said? Marrow. And from the mother, we have blood, ragislam. Oh, yeah. Flesh and jupa.
Did it?
I didn't get the third one of the mother, but anyway. Yeah, they'll come out in next class.
You know, any the digic share, Juan Shishera, Sakam, Menkam, Lunkam, Nangekam. Delana, Juan Shigala, Nangekam, the Namshi come to Stusik Jagger, but Nagajuna, and the dinner, the Suda. Sami Chume, Memelo, and Namsham, Jew, Deleshim, you come to do which is Sigdo. They come the Karazana, Chukam, Mekam, Lunkam, Sakamche, Tigan, Nage Kamche, Dila Namshi Kamche, come to the come to say this, Jadam and Damada did the Yorda.
And then the second way of setting forth the 6 constituents from Nagarjuna, where you take the 4 elements, fire, earth, air, and water, and add to those space and consciousness, as Nagarjuna says in his text.
Ngagi Kijishadi, you come to this idea, Palatave, and Kabasona, Malatave, Marvusum, the Rata, the jail, Sig jail.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Nagarjuna quotes Nagarjuna in his text. It goes that the person is neither earth, nor water, nor fire, nor air, nor wind, nor, nor space, nor consciousness. What other person is findable other than that? So this previous collection that Gisela gave will come next week, because that former one of the semen and blood and those threefold divisions therein comes from Tantra. Tantra. Yeah, that's what makes up a human body's potential. Yeah, you won't find these in the form realm. Well, you won't find them in the Pure Lands either, the 6 constituents.
Dienalada, dende Drojagdoa, because a Jewish Chunguda to me Lamrim Batelayane, Chiwamidawache, or Tamungan Dungan Sambache, Chiwamidawache, any leg, Jamroche, Legundece, any Yambuto Shiche, Tijedi, that Jewish Chungugi Lam Yamning Chiagi, Rimbare do Asrata, this Semnalama, Parinraji, Shatumna, and Yabudo Asra.
It is good now that one has the reflection to be able to set in one's mind all of the meditations in common with the initial capacity scope practitioner, because coming to the end of the 4 opponent powers, we're about to go into the middling capacity practitioner's purpose and scope, which we'll do next week. So then, coming back to what is in common with the initial scope, one would have understood the demerits of the lower realms and meditated on those sufferings, as well as death and impermanence, knowing the qualities of refuge and their objects, knowing what following refuge means by cause and effect, and then the 4 opponent powers. So if one can keep those in one's mind.
The Shung Susuki Yama subject dictan testes menda yor dele. 디 용기도 와다 디 인도 수센나라 마 파림라지 뒤가 주나
Yeah.
와 신이 딘주 람지자와 신이 딘주체 아니 되네 되네 로치다 저에 대외되는 인물람비시 구와서 텐저 텐제체 안 텐저 텐제제라 단다 람림 뒤되이나 치워미다 그래도
Yeah.
아니 치워미다 왜지라 아니 년도 동에 삼제 아니 잠로체 딜러지네 아니 딜랜데 삼 아니 되네 랜데 디워슈 전부 다야게 체도 아니 년부터 시체 두세제 마 삼로데 두 드샤나 다데 반응으로지 삼년나나 마지 반응 데레 샤르콤세르 데레야
Shagom.
람림 기 샤르콤세르 와 샤르콤 디 콤레 콤
Now, the different lam rims have different ways. Sometimes they slightly vary about how these topics are set forth in order, but certainly, according to the hymn of experience we're going through, we would start with the root being the correct reliance on the spiritual friend, and then going through thinking about, the perfect human rebirth, being exhorted. How students are led along the path after relying on a guru, beginning with being encouraged or exhorted to make good use of the optimum perfect human support, but that thinking that is impermanent and death will come, and that after death the potential to take a difficult birth is there. So in that light you reflect on the sufferings of the lower migrations, looking to safe direction from that possibility, refuge, and understanding the qualities of it. What refuge is talking about is following the advice of the behavioral laws and effect, the maturation of that. So when you understand cause and effect, and if it's strong, your understanding, you will go to purify misdeeds already accumulated by the way of the four opponent powers. Now, if you can go through that step by step, in a glance review, that's called a glance view of the path, that type of meditation.
다 디즈나네 상만내가다 첨부전자르데 담몽도 치워미다고 삼는 양세 따나 아니 상만 용그레스타로
Of course, all of those topic headlines, all of those points are important, but what's big for us, we need to remember again and again, is death and impermanence.
다 진다 마주나나 자오섬데로 치워기 남징이 니 치베치 쉐마도 강매 뱀바셔야 돼. 니 대삼로 따는데로 봐. 치여딩 예버레 말해. 봐. 되게 자자장 예버디 녀야 하고다. 다 이제 니 지왕이 남징이메서 되다. 가두시 그래서 니 여게면도 하셔서. 다 시베체 니 뒤중하는서 깔래시고 자야게 베샤다 민다 지구와 직잘하다도 저 편도거든. 그래서 가와도 그래. 그래서 봐야는 수술 류된디에 샤네 도고 그러잖아. 다 가르시야르서는 아니 시베지스 류단 담마시 류이나 류기 티마여반데 나시 아니 시미에서 셈 칸도스 데려야 류 아니 라기 가와체신 저게 바자디 체지 돼야 제단다 개와치야리샤 시제다 딘데스나 아니 지 가서 그래 지 가리네 다 정말로 직드네 미다고 삼노도 다운tum나 두시유나 네 두시기 초트 줘데 미다고 두시 인송으로 두시기 초 미다고 dimbe 두시 아니 제기 초 발랑기 제송으로 아니 제마게 초 파주기 제마 다이 제마 파주 발랑기 강배 제디 세우시위서라 다과길 발랑여라 파주 강배 제디 세우시위 되게서라메 지나시 두시기 초데 미다고 dimbe 두시디 인송으로 두시 망보 열어봐다 얘는 미다고 하세요 미다고 인사를 해서 두시디 텔레데네 최상마다 연구열 상마데네 연구열다
So the best reflection we can do, being on death and impermanence, those three roots, isn't it? The fact that death will come, the second one, that its time is uncertain, and thirdly, what matters at the time of death? What matters? So that first one, we can reflect logically 100% death will occur. We're not sure, the second point is we're not sure when. But this third one, what matters at the time of death, the money, reputation, friends, or even body that we put effort into will be of no consequence. At the time of death, all of the above has to be left behind. As it is said, just as a shadow follows the body at the time of death, the imprints on the mind go with it to the future, to the next life. So then, if that's the case, then the positive or negative imprints that we are accumulating are important. And in light of collecting imprints, the best discrimination we can make is said to be on death and impermanence, to spur us on. Just as it is said that the clearest imprint left behind is that of the balangre, ox. When the ox leaves its hoof in the mud, it's very clear. So it is said there are many different types of discriminations we can have, but the clearest is on death and impermanence.
Oh yeah.
So continuing.
Sorry, there was one more question. A subsequent question to the one before.
Yeah.
This is also, so Geshe-la, do you yourself pray to be reborn in a pure land or the perfect human rebirth?
Okay, so the question has come, Geshe-la's question for you. Do you pray to be born in a pure land or to have another perfect human rebirth? Geshe-la kari mulam dungi shinkamla shinkamla kere yangmane yangyo milu rinchen to kore.
mi zambuling de la tandege che jamne ya wuchi ge sanje ge temba ya go yo na ani mil jawlen ro chi zambuling de la che ya go mena ani thajing le jawlen ro chi mel ge yo
I pray that if the Buddha doctrine, Buddha's teaching remains in this world and is accessible, I will be born human to access it here. But if it is not, may I be born in a pure land. Yeah, I've kind of covered my bases. Isn't that an assurance of the visa?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's continue from.
We're starting on stanza 15 on page 6, a second from top.
If you do not put effort into contemplating true sufferings, the faults of samsara, you will not develop the wish for liberation. If you do not contemplate true origins, the steps for entering samsara, you will not understand how to cut the roots of samsara. Therefore, rely on weariness, definite emergence from samsara, and cherish the knowledge of what binds you to samsara. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, practice in this way. The generation of the mind is the central post of the Maya path. With the conduct of philosophers studying transforming all directions. I take it having understood this, children, may the practice of the precious supreme mind. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Generosity is life. So transmigration beings, the supreme waking present, not the miserliness, the activity of the children of conquerors that strengthens courage their bodies, possessions, and virtue. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Reality is water cleansing stains of faulty behavior. Moonlight dispelling torment and the afflictions. Devotee beings with no dread of faults, having understood this, holy beings guard morality, correctly taken as they do their eyes. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Patience is the finest ornament of the powerful, the supreme of all hardships, counteracting with all afflictions. A guru that negates the enemy is snake-afflicted. Having understood this, cultivate the armor. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. When you don armor like effort, steady and immovable, the qualities of scripture and realization will increase like the waxing moon. Becomes meaningful. Whatever actions are undertaken will be accomplished as desired. Having understood this, children of billowing waves, swelling laziness, you the perfect guru practiced in this way. I am seeking liberation will also practiced in this way. Concentration is a king ruling the mind. In places movable as Mount Meru, when set forth it engages all precious objects. It induces the great depths of a soul's full body and mind. Meditative stabilization that destroys the enemy of distraction. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. Seeking liberation, so practiced in this way. Wisdom is an eye seeing profound thusness, a path eradicating the root of existence. And renowned as supreme at last, dispelling the darkness of ignorance. Having understood this, to desire liberation, generate the path of Activa. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. One-pointed concentration is not considered to be able to cut the roots of samsara. Wisdom separated from the path of karma abiding will not avert the afflictions, no matter how much you analyze.
Having mounted the wisdom that reflects on the real mode of existence
upon the horse of steadfast karma abiding, with the sharp weapon of the logic of the middle way free from extremes,
destroy all mental fabrications grasping at extremes.
With vast wisdom analyzing in this way, increase the wisdom that realizes thusness.
You, the perfect guru,
practiced in this way, I who am seeking liberation will also practice the meditative stabilization achieved by one-pointed meditation
is not enough. With the individual investigation of proper analysis,
generate a meditative stabilization that abides firm and immovable on the mode of existence. Having seen this, understand how wonderful are those who endeavor to accomplish the union of karma abiding and special insight.
You, the perfect
guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. In meditative equipoise, emptiness is like space. In post-meditation, emptiness is like an illusion.
Through meditation on both method and wisdom may be unified,
whereby the perfect conduct of the conqueror's children is praised. Having realized this, the tradition of those of good fortune is not satisfied by either path alone. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Having generated the common path necessary for the two supreme Mahayana paths,
the causal and resultant, rely on a protector, a skillful master,
and enter the great ocean of the class of Tantra. Then, through reliance on complete perfect instructions, make the attainment of your leisures and endowments meaningful.
You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way.
I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way.
Due to the virtue from explaining in clear words the perfect complete path pleasing to the conquerors,
so as to familiarize my mind with it,
and to benefit others of good fortune,
I made the prayer, may all transmigratory beings never be parted from the excellent pure path. You, the perfect guru, practiced in this way.
I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. To page 31 for the short mandala.
Vira Lingji, Nide Gyambarati, Sangye Shinto Mite Uwaye, Droko Nampa Shinwa Chopa Sho. Vazera Denje, Naga Drenle Chotu Jewata, Losan Tembe Trome Sasunye, Trome Munso Tate Neju, Uchi, Ita Guru Rene Mendela Kamni Yatayami.
Page 33, prayers ways of dedication. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions,
Yo di
man
yo da lama
completely
sanyo do
attains
ju
to
ju
the
do
Buddha
chi je ma
and
do
lead all
di
living
sa la
beings
bo
without exception into
cha je sin jo ren bo
state.
che ma je ba na
May the
ji ji
supreme
je wa
jewel
ja ba me wa
bodhicitta
ya
that is
ga ne
from
san
the
je do
wisdom
wa
arising grow,
chan
and
ja
may
wa
that
dan
which
chi
has
je wa
arisen
dan ju
of
se
the
na bu ju
finished
so wa
Buddha.
ye ge wa ju se dan ji ji se wa
Whatever slight
tam
positive
je so be
difference
Gentle
ju
I
one
be
may
may
have
chen bo
created by
I
paying
pay
ya da
homage,
ju ju wa
offering the
dan ju
knowledge
se
of
na
my
bu ju
faults,
so ye
rejoicing and
rejoicing in the
requesting
blessing
that the Buddhas stay and
tam je
teach.
so be
I now
I
dedicate
dedicate
all
all
this
this
for
for
full
full
awakening.
awakening.
I dedicate
Dedicate
all
all
these
these
roots of
roots of
virtue,
virtue,
the
the
dedication
dedication
and
and
praise
praise
is
is
best.
best, by the victorious ones thus far these few times, so that I might perform the noble bodhisattva schemes. May
May
the
the
King
King
of
of
Dharma
Dharma,
Sankapa
Sankapa,
stay
stay
of
of
Dharma
Dharma
practice
practice flourish.
flourish.
May
May
the
the
omens
omens
of
of
obstacles be
obstacles be
pacified.
pacified, and all the conducive circumstances be complete. The wish granted, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, be imperably kind to Mr. Gyatso, I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the Snowland teachings on transmigration beings, it makes extremely clear the path that is the unification of emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder, Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled.
You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who service the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, spreading to mass victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels,
Savior of myself and others, your disciples,
please live long. By relying on the two accumulations of myself and others and the three times,
may the teachings of the conqueror Losong Drapa
lays for a long time.